Chapter 16. Importance of Water. Ponder a while. From where and how far did your grandparents get water? Have you ever seen the sources of underground water? How do farmers get water for irrigation? Do you know some things that float or sink in water? Supply of water. The public water supply system is responsible for supply of water in cities and towns. People store water in the water tanks when water reaches their houses through pipes. Some people who do not have public water supply use borewells in order to get access to underground water. Water from a borewell comes out through an electric motor. People stand in a big lines for their turn in the localities in which water is scarce, as water is supplied in these areas for a short time. In some areas, municipality supplies water through tankers. There are some areas where people have to go long distances to fetch water. In cities and towns, PIAs are a common sight where free drinking water is provided to one and all. Some examples of PIAs are water tanks constructed on the roadside with water taps. PIAs set up at several bus stations and railway stations, especially during summer season. At many places, earthen pots are filled with water and placed under the tree from which passers-by can drink water. Stepwells or bowlies. Bowlies are huge water reservoirs dug into the ground. They have a series of steps in one or more of its walls. The water of bowli is mostly used for drinking and cooking and not for other purposes. Since there are other more efficient means of storing water today, stepwells are hardly seen these days. Earlier, the kings and rulers used to get stepwells constructed for storing rainwater. There were many bowlis in Delhi in the olden days. Fact trivia. Bundi, Rajasthan is called the city of stepwells because it has a number of bowlis. The most famous bowli is Rani Ji Ki Bowli, Queen's Stepwell. Water for irrigation. In India, rainfall is unevenly distributed throughout the year, and so farmers cannot depend upon rainfall for cultivating their crops. Sufficient and timely supply of water to the crops is provided through irrigation. Irrigation can be described as the artificial act of supplying water to soil for farming. The different sources of irrigation used in India nowadays are wells, tube wells, tanks and canals. In order to use groundwater for irrigation, water must be lifted to ground level so that the fields could be watered. Nowadays, this is done with the help of tube wells. Tube wells are the pumps that help to pull the groundwater. In ancient times, when modern pumps were not available, animals or humans had to draw water from the ground. Let's learn about some ancient means of drawing water. Dankli. It is a traditional system of irrigation used in rural regions. In this system, a log of wood is attached to a counterweight on one side and with a bucket on the other side. The water is drawn by pushing down the bucket into the water and the filled bucket gets lifted up by the counterweight. Rehat. The Rehat system of irrigation requires a large well in which a wheel is used which is run by cows, buffaloes or oxen to fetch the water out of the well and then spread out over the crops. It is a cheap but not very efficient method of irrigation. Let's do it. Make a working model of Dankli with the help of pencils, erasers, stones and small toy